Previously on
MrMattyPlays yells at Activision.
Call of Duty is now on a 3-year development cycle. It's like a normal game now. Now for me, I wanted to review these games, so I decided to buy the bundle for $60, and I have to say, they are not a remaster at all. The graphics have barely been touched up. Also, the PC port, that is awful. What kind of sense does that make? Remaster you are paying $60 or $40 for doesn't come with the special DLC heroes that come in the Gold Edition.
Uh-oh, looks like Matt's cooking here. Yeah. Matt, what are you cooking?
Just some sunny side eggs, you know, nothing special. Also a side of roasted Activision.
the Shredder.
Tastes good. So Activision's at it again, destroying my childhood. Shocker, I know. What have they done this time, you might be asking? Well, you might remember my review for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutants in Manhattan, which was a game that utterly disgusted me. I still don't understand how Platinum Games, who's making Nier Automata, who made Bayonetta 2, made a game that fucking terrible, but it happened and I was angry about it, especially because I love the Ninja Turtles. So what has Activision done? They've removed Mutants in Manhattan from Steam, Xbox Live, and PSN. You can no longer download this game. Now I know a lot of you out there are probably thinking about cracking a joke saying, Matty, this is good news because that game was fucking awful. And I totally agree with you. My problem here is that it's blatantly exposing what Activision did, which was, hey, let's take the Ninja Turtles license and gut it for fucking cash. The game's not selling anymore? Okay, we'll take it down. Who cares? Two other titles suffered the same fate, which were The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. Now, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 goes down as one of the worst video games I've ever played, but The Amazing Spider-Man 1, out of all these games I've mentioned so far, is actually a decent video game and one that I do recommend you play if you like superhero games. Now, what has likely happened here is that Activision's license has expired. Hopefully, permanently, but I doubt that's what'll happen as Activision sees a lot of profit in those games, and rightfully so. They're tie-in games. You got people like me who will have false hope on them and say, you know what, maybe this Mutants in Manhattan game will be the one that actually is a good tie-in video game, only to have my heart crushed naturally and then get $60 out of me. Or was it 50? I don't care. It was a fucking ridiculously high price for the amount of shit content I got. Here's the thing though, is that this has happened to Activision in the past as well. A lot of you might remember the game Deadpool. This was actually a surprisingly decent game from High Moon Studios. Although it was a bit repetitive, it did channel a lot of the charismatic humor from our favorite anti-hero, Deadpool. His game was removed from Steam, Xbox Live, and PSN as well, but it was eventually put back on, and this was all due to a license expiration. When it comes to the Ninja Turtles though, this has actually happened in the past with a game that I really love. It's called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time Reshelled. This is a game by Ubisoft, and it actually remastered Turtles in Time, and it was a blast because it was online co-op. I don't know about you guys, but I grew up on Turtles in Time couch co-op. I'd go up to my friend's house every single day after school and we just play the hell out of Turtles in Time for years. That is not an exaggeration, okay? This is one of my favorite games of all time. Anyway, it's the reason I actually own my Xbox 360 still, is because I don't want to lose Turtles in Time Reshelled, because due to an expired license with Ubisoft, they can't list the game on the store anymore either, meaning that no one can download it unless they previously owned it. In fact, I don't even think that's the case because a couple of my friends bought it, deleted it, I kept it, and they went to re-download it to play it with me, and they couldn't. So the game's entirely gone, unlike with this case here, where you can still download Ninja Turtles, you can still download these Spider-Man games if you actually have purchased them in the past. So since this all likely boils down to an expired license, why am I really making the video and getting pissed off? One, it's Activision. Two, once again, I am so sick of Activision and how they are literally ripping the heart out of one of my favorite childhood series and turning it into nothing but trash. I specifically remember while growing up, there was the fantastic Ninja Turtle show from 2003. The one nowadays on Nickelodeon is also not that bad, but the games were somewhat on par at the very least, where they were, yeah, tied in, but they at least had substantial content, were true to the shows, tried their own things, had unique secrets. This was back when Konami was actually decent and they made games like the Ninja Turtles Beat 'em Up, as well as Battle Nexus and Mutant Nightmare. Mutant Nightmare being my personal favorite. The last hint of brilliance I felt we saw in a Ninja Turtles game was probably Out of the Shadows. Mind you, yes, this is a buggy mess, but when going back and playing it, also when I played it at launch, I did see a lot of potential, and it seemed like it had the right ideas in the terms of gameplay where you'd have combo attacks with your turtles. It also had decent replay value for a $20 title, so it was very well aware that it was a game that wasn't going to sell at the base price of $60 like Activision did with a 4-hour-long Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan. But even then, it's really sad for me to say that the last bit of brilliance for the Ninja Turtles video game series was a game that fucking sucked in all actuality. I mean, I can't even think back to the last good Ninja Turtles game in recent memory, memory. Like maybe some of you enjoyed the 2007 one, I think it was. That was a tie-in for a movie game. That one was okay. I thought it was awful personally. So for me, the last good one was Mutant Nightmare, which I think came out a decade ago. I'm gonna verify that information right now. November 1st, 2005 was the last time a good fucking Ninja Turtles game came out. Let that sink in. What the fuck? Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, that's me bolstering my opinion because according to Metacritic, Mutant Nightmare is a 58%. Sadly for most people, the last good Ninja Turtles game was probably one on the SNES or NES. It's time to hand this series off to someone who can actually make a quality video game, because that's what I don't get with Activision, is that all you're doing is tarnishing a fucking license and you're barely selling copies with it. I know they had to meet the deadline for the Ninja Turtles movie, so that's why they wanted to capitalize on sales, but if you made a good game in the first place, it would sell regardless. I'm not saying every single good game sells exponentially well, but it would market itself as just a fucking good video game and be talked about. Instead, you have a game that releases around the movie, you cash in on a couple of dumb kids, and then you have the entire games industry laughing at your product, which you eventually removed at the end of the year. Hold on, wait, this one's actually rich. According to PCGamesN.com, Activision won't even be making a comment on the removal of these games. That alone is a comment. But ladies and gentlemen, let's say, and this is a hypothetical statement, mind you, that Activision doesn't put the games back on the market. Then they are just hiding from their own bad products they've created. They got their money, they're like, okay, thanks guys, see you later. Like, are you serious? How is this allowed? It's as if they left the game on the marketplace just long enough for YouTubers to capture footage of the game so that they can put it in their worst games of 2016 lists. Fuck. I mean, Activision just does it to themselves. Really, they do. They just invite this fucking criticism. I'm absolutely mind blown that I actually secured a review copy for Infinite Warfare last year, because I have openly criticized and destroyed this company on multiple occasions. They're like, yeah, here, destroy our latest crap product. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. They just don't care. They look at the money and they're like, okay, that's awesome. Fuck you guys. Hopefully my bitching gets us somewhere. Probably not. But still, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments down below. What was the last good Ninja Turtles game you felt you played? I'm really curious on some of the answers. As always, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are, as always, in the description down below. Check out TriggerBomb.com, the place by Bethesda fans for Bethesda fans. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active, and love you all. Peace.